Hello, beautiful people, future me. Welcome to another programming workout of mine. It's the same always. So last time I had 8% unproductive, blah blah. Let's try to get it down a little bit. Let's get into it. I'm pressing space too much. DTR.
This is so.
Space. All right. What is the result? What is the result? Hit me 8%. Oh well. Let's do this typing. Why did it froze? Free. Oh, let's do one more. we'll start with JavaScript arrays. That should be pretty easy, I think. So let's get into it. Start array -1 is on the right. I did press the enter. Okay, P. That was pretty easy. Ready now? Nothing. Okay, so we will do the concurrency thing, which I'm looking forward to. We were doing the promises, the beastie promises. Come on. Oh fuck, I did reset the timer. I meant to pause it. Just, oh well. What I will do also is the brewity. Where's water? Drop me in the water. Water. Okay, I'll let it run and probably forget about it. That's how we do things in here. Okay. So we have some review to do. This will reject and be quoted, so this will be fulfilled. And inside of there will be be quoted. And like so. The promise does not look like that in the actual browser, but it's just side note. Add another then call to run the promises string value into array. Sure. Then we'll have this. Promise 1, reject on error, promise 2, resolve. Okay, so the promise 2 will be rejected too. That kind of spreads from the first one to the other one. And the format is error. And this will be 404, not found. Like so. Now we have function split promise. We have a resolve. Create a promise. New promise. And we have the resolve. Okay, and we are returning an array. The first is the extracted resolve thingy, and then we have the promise. Okay. So we define two constants, resolve and promise, and we destructure that from the result from the return value from the split promise. And this is an example on that the only first resolve will be executed, all other ones will be simply ignored. So when we give it 5, it will return another promise. This will be fulfilled with a value 5 times 2, so filled and 10, like so. And I did the review. Remy. New promise to assign the promise constructor's resolve function to the variable resolve. Sure. So we will have a res, and we say resolve equals res. Can it be like this? Yes, it can. So, what I was having doubts about is if this part have to be inside of the corollaries. It doesn't have to. What do we have next? Const array. Const timer, set timeout. Okay. Clear timeout. And we are printing out the array. So this is an example on canceling the set timeout function. And when we cancel it, the function which is provided to the set timeout will not be called, so the array will be still empty in this case. Now we have two set timeouts in series behind each other, so after 1 second it will be added, and we are waiting for 3 seconds. So this will be the final result of all the things. Const promise resolve 5, then do something, then we have promise 2, which is promise resolve 10. Now we have two promises, promise 1, promise 2, and one have a 6, second one have a 10, so it will be fulfilled, and 16. Promise resolved, then 6. Okay, so fulfilled with 1D, fulfilled like so. Now we have a 2 timers. We cancel the second one, so the array will be containing only the timer 1 string. Here we go. Resolve. Okay, so here we extract the resolve to a variable, resolve function to a variable inside of the constructor, and we have that. Then we have a set timeout. The takeaway in here is that the dot then after the which is chained to constructor of promise will have to wait till the execution of the set timeout, or well, yeah, of the set timeout. So after a second or so we will get 6, and that will be fulfilled because we are calling the resolve method, and the fulfilled will say 6. That's okay. So now we have 3 things, array, so we are waiting for 1.5 seconds. The result is waiting for 3, so we'll have those things inside. Here we go. Okay. A user is making a purchase and enters an invalid discount code. We use an array instead of a real database. Doesn't exist. We return a rejected promise. A rejected promise will cause application to return a HTTP 500 error. We don't want that, so we need to handle the rejection promise with catch, returning a promise that fulfills with undefined instead. Okay, so we will have here dot catch, and we will have a catch. Say there will be a function, I think. Find. I'm not sure. And it is so. Okay. So catch takes function. Okay, so we finished the review, and we will learn something. So concurrency, running promises concurrently. We are writing a web application. It needs to take multiple requests to an API at once. Yeah, so we just had it currently in a serial manner or sequential, right? Sequentially done. And we want to execute it at the same time, so they will tell us, I guess. So for the sequential, I would just chain them, right, with the dot dance. So what if I want to fake to get user function that waits for 500 milliseconds to simulate network delay, then returns a promise containing a user. Our users are simple strings because we are concerned with the concurrency itself. Okay, so what do we have? We have a function, get user ID, and we have a new promise. So we have a constructor of a promise, which is executed sequentially, and then we have a set timeout. We have that resolve function, so it will resolve. So this is just delay for 500 milliseconds, and after that we log to the console got user with the ID, and we return user with the ID to string. All right. So get user one will I don't see the where it gets. Okay, so it's set fulfilled and so on. Oh yeah, it just returns that. I was thinking maybe there should be some array or something where it gets to, but it just takes the ID and plug it in here and here. So get user will be the same. Fulfilled user 2, like so. Our first solution for requesting multiple users is get the first user, then attach a then callback to get the second user. Our first solution for requesting multiple users. Get the first user, then attach the then callback to get the second user, then we repeat many other. Okay, so this is the sequential. When it then returns a promise, the outer promise will resolve the fulfilled value inside the inner promise. Hold on. When a then returns a promise, the outer promise will resolve to the fulfilled value inside the inner promise. What is the inner promise? What is the outer and what is the inner promise? Okay, so we have a get user then, so this is the outer, then we have a get user 2. Okay, so user 1 is that how this works. So get user returns something, some string, right? So we have that with a value, okay, and we have here user 1. We take that, and then we have this function in which we call the get user 2, and that is as a get user 2, and we have an array. Okay, cool. Huh. Something went wrong. Alright. Hopefully it will work right away. If not, I will go and do something else, I guess. Resume. So, got user 1, got user 2. Yeah, so this is the output to the console, and we are returning this array as a value, okay. That works, but performance is bad because our second API call can't begin until after the first API call finishes. Exactly. We can see that in the console output, each API request takes 500 or more in my case. Well, but the total time is about 1 second. CPU is idle for almost all of the time. We are only waiting for the network, or in our case, for our timer that simulates the network. Sure. Our second solution is to begin both API calls immediately. How? Then create a new promise waiting for both of them. Or how? Creating a promise schedule. Creating a promise schedules it to run whether or not we attach a then. So both API requests begin immediately. The overall time here is about 5. Okay. So we have a promise 1, promise 2. And yeah, get user. Okay, so that was get user, and then we attach .then to it, but here we are creating the 2 promises. Alright. And so that will do. It starts that, then it got user, and then it returns something. Okay, so this is the promise 1, get user, promise 2, get user. Okay, so, and we will get fulfilled, and there will be array, and probably we'll get user 1 first. Yeah, we should. User 1, and in quotes, and there will be user 2. Like so. Here we go. What if we need to get 7 users instead of 2? Nesting 7 then calls doesn't seem like a good solution. Yeah. So I would well, so promise 1 dot then, yeah, so how? Our third solution is to write a wait for all function. It takes any number of promises, collects their fulfilled values into an array, and returns a new promise that fulfills with that array. The exit implementation here isn't very important, but you might find it interesting. This example won't be reviewed, and you don't need to write this function in your project. I don't. Okay, so we have a wait for all promises. Then we have a array promises, promise resolve, and for start with an empty array. Okay, so we have that, but we have the fulfilled promise on that, right? Are we just create a promise in here. So your array promise. Build a new promise holding an array that contains all of the old array elements plus the one from this promise. Okay, so array promise is array promise dot then, and we take the array and we have a promise dot then. Okay, so array promise is something like a that variable, and array promise. Okay, so when that resolves, that we take what it fulfills to. So this will be an empty array in the beginning, and we create new. We create a new one. I'm not sure what. Wants to wait for all. Probably. Function is written waiting for multiply PO calls. Wait for all. Get user, get user, get user. So we have a promises. And for promise, where's the promise come from? Okay, so that is the thing. So promise. Where do we call all of these promises? So the get user. Okay, so this creates the promise already. This function, right? It returns a promise. That's a. So it runs. It runs right when we call this. So this is pending. This is pending, and this is pending. And then we just go over the promises array, and when we have the array promise, we changing this array, which we will be returning, and it is an array promise dot then. We take an array which we get from the previous one, and then we take the promise which is in the promises array, and on evaluation we take the value and attach it to the end of the array. And after all of those resolve, we return the array promise. Okay, that's nice. That's clever, I guess. I like it. Okay, so once again, we have the wait for all. We put in 3 promises which are pending right now. Pending right now, and we create a promise will be array promise, and we resolve. We have in a return value an empty array, so that we can kind of easily attach to it. And then we take the promises and what is this? Array promise dot then. So it takes that array, then dot then will be the array, and in that we take a promise. So for example, the first one, we take that value, attach it to the end. In the second one, we will have it'll be here again. So now the array promise has one element. Then we say array promise dot then again on it, okay. And we take the previous array with the one value. We have now the second promise. We call dot then. This is the previous array, and we attach the next one. And when we go through all of the promises from the argument, we return that. Okay. Okay. Let's use the 1, 2, 3. Wait for all seems to do the job. It returned an array in 500 milliseconds. Well, not on my machine. Not the 500. That's the important part. That sequential request would take. However, there's no need to write that function because JavaScript comes with it. What is it? Cool. Well, it was educational, I would say. Our fourth solution is the built-in promise all. But there's a proof that it works like wait for our function above. Okay, so and we will see it in the future. Somewhere. Promise all, get these 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will get us. So it's like promise all, okay, promise all, and it takes an array of promises. Let's see. Okay, finish. Okay, so that was cool. And we are over the time limit, which means we are done. None is better than perfect, and I will see you next time. Bye.